Howdy folks. In this video I wanted to cover some different things, and this is one of my mixing tubs. This is an actual mixing tub I'm using, and I'm going to show you what they look like, pretty much how this system works. Even if you got worms in these kinds without a lid on it, it'd be the same thing. If you put lids on stuff, it changes the variables a little bit, including moisture problems, whatever. I don't use lids unless I have to, so anyway, I ain't gonna cover that. Sorry about the Harley. Anyway, first thing I want to cover, if you sift worms and you have more than one species of worm, you're really better off having an exact sifter of some kind for your worms. Don't be switching them up, because if you give somebody worms, they're probably going to get mixed species. There's different ways of getting mixed species. They can cross one, bend another, whatever, but this is the most easiest way to mix your worms up, because if you get one cocoon and say like one of those corners, all it takes is one, and then when you screen it again, you might get that cocoon knocked loose, and then it'll be in your other worms. But anyway, let me try to speed up a little bit. This is just one of my kind of harvesters anyway. This right here is the only way I cover them up. The worms, they will climb up this, but they don't like climbing dry stuff. If you watch them, usually you're okay in this stuff. When you spray this bedding down, it's better to do it first part of the day. If you wait till dark, this stuff stays wet, worms can crawl out, which worms can crawl out anytime if they really want to, so yeah. But if you cover one like this up, no matter when, if you look, you always have worms up the wall, so you can tell a big difference when you do this. Alright, let me uncover this stuff. And the first thing I want to cover is after a while you'll get used to doing it this way. You'll look at this top of this and say, man, that's not even beginning the process. Well, it is. This is actually working just like your newspaper, the same way. And what I do is the way I can tell these bins are done is you can tell the density below this changes. So if you just like stick your fingers in here, right below that, when you first start this, it'll feel like this wet. And as the worms eat it, it'll of course compost down. You won't have these clumps in there no more. The worms will be eating all this underneath there. And if you see right there, the little bit of worm shell I put in there, it sits there because the worms don't like being in this dry stuff. This will also keep your worms from crawling out. But when you spray these down, of course you want to add water to it. You can feel down here to tell when it needs water, or you can also pick them up. If you got them like on a stand like I do, it's real easy to do. You can tell just by the weight of it, it's getting a little dry after a while. I mean, it takes practice, but you'll get good at it. And anyway, once it's ready to harvest, this dry stuff is going to go into the bottom of the next bin I start. But I'm just going to show you a real quick part of it. I ain't going to do this whole bin, or I'll bore you to tears. But you can see when you start scraping this stuff off, and all I'll do, let me get this one a little closer. If you see right underneath it, you can see a worm right there, hollow butt, see it? Hang on. Anyway, what I'll do is I'll scrape this whole top layer of this stuff off. This is just like a worm living in the forest. They love this stuff. But if you let this dry out a little bit before you harvest it, you can sift it with the worms and all in these trays. Let me just get a little more of this. It's hard doing it one-handed. I wish I had a tripod or something, but you know. Yeah, that's good enough. And I don't know how many worms are in this particular bin. I ain't gonna try to figure it out right now. Okay. And that shows you horses eat rocks too. So anyway, now you got it down to the wet bedding, and letting it dry out just a little bit. It's going to sift through this screen. And like I say, this is actually VC. It's not vermicast or straight castings. I prefer the VC over vermicast, but it's all in your preference. If you want the vermicast, it's going to be a lot harder sifting it. But anyway, let me just show you right quick. You can see how moist it is. If you look, you see all the worms in there. Wish I had a macro on this camera, but anyway, it's still wet. But this could have processed a little bit longer, but it's gonna be all right. And let me show you. I'm gonna put a few of them in here. Let me grab some more and show you. You see all the worms in there. If you get further down to the bottom of this, it gets even better. I'll show you the bottom chunk. And like I say, this whole tray is full of worms like that. There's babies all hatched out. It also depends on where you live. There's cocoon right there. And this is a horse manure bed. All right, that's good enough. Yeah, let me put one more in there. Let me get you a look at this one. See all the worms living in there? And they're a little cold, you know. You look at some of them, you can tell why they're tiger worms. Maybe you can't on this, but anyway, let me get showing you. All right. You see how it just kind of clumps up a little bit. You're not worried about all this, but the trick is, as you can see, there's worms in there. All right, here we go. That ain't real good in one hand. All right. See all the clumps? There's cocoons all in there. I wish I could show you cocoons. It ain't gonna show up. Let's see if I can. Like I said, there's real small baby worms all in there. But that's your clumps. This is what I process over again, and then I'll wet that down and I'll throw this in there, and this is what starts your other bin. It's all your worms, cocoons all in there. Now you look in here. This is your finished VC. Now let me see if I can see any baby worms. You might not get 100% worm free on this, but it works pretty good. And like I say, there's a lot of different processes. And by the way, on the camera, this stuff shows up a lot lighter than it is. It's actually pretty dark. Maybe a better camera will show it up better. It doesn't do it justice. It's real rich looking. But I don't see no worms. Can't find any cocoons. I'm not saying there's not a cocoon or worm in there, but this is how simple it really is. And some people don't even screen their VC, but that's a good way to save all your worms. And that way you don't have to wait as long for them to hatch out. But I don't see no cocoons in there. But anyway, I'm not gonna stand there all day looking. But in this right here, I put it in those big, like Starlight tubs with a lid on it. And if something did hatch out when you're storing this stuff, you can get the worms out of it with a piece of melon or something. But you don't want this to dry out. Leave it moist. Keep the microbes working in it. And that way you have some pretty good VC. But like I said, it doesn't matter what the tub looks like, it's the process. If you got a taller tub like that and you leave it that shallow, these worms will actually live in pretty shallow stuff. You might not think they will, but as long as they got a place to stay, they'll stay in it. This could be, you know, only 2 inches of horse manure in here, and they'll just stay living in it. They don't care. You might not get the worm populations from not having the depth, but once you reach a certain depth, you're not going to wind up expanding out. I mean, they'll expand out. You ain't going to gain that from the depth because they're only going to go so deep in there most of the time. I might be wrong on that one, but anyway. I think I bored you enough. Hopefully somebody will grasp a little from this. And like I said, if you look in here, there's a worm trying to get through the wire. But if you use this on something else, different type worms, you could always drop some cocoons in there, and then you're really gonna have nightmares. But anyway, that's it for now.